One of the most difficult parts of being an artist or a creator, as we are in pro wrestling, is making decisions. We can often second guess ourselves and have too many ideas floating around that really affect the overall product that we're putting out there. Whether it comes to deciding on your theme music, your moveset, your character, your matches, so on and so on, indecision and what we call analysis paralysis can definitely take hold. Today's episode of World-Beater Wrestling is all about setting boundaries to ensure that your creative vision comes to fruition. This episode stems from one of my most recent blogs that I wrote on my Facebook, and there was a quote I put in there from Orson Welles that said, "The enemy of art is the absence of limitations." And the way I interpret that quote is that if you don't have limitations on your work, your creative image, and what you're trying to do, it's very easy to lose focus and lose track of exactly where you wanted to end up with whatever it may be. I spoke about this recently in an episode titled Just Say No, which I should be able to link above. And I was talking about when putting matches together, often you can have a vision that you walk into the match with, but once you start collaborating with one or more outside sources who have their own visions, and you start to kind of just accept all of the ideas and blend them all together, you don't end up with the same outcome. It's almost worse than if you just had one person calling all the shots, which doesn't mean I'm promoting dictatorship or anything like that, but I just mean that sometimes that initial vision can really take a different path when too many outside influences are introduced. I would often find in wrestling that I just wanted to do too much because I had inspiration in so many different places, so many different styles. I wanted to try so many different characters, do so many different types of moves, and it just doesn't work. As soon as you introduce too many things, it dilutes the waters, and it's very hard to understand what you're trying to really get across. This is why it's important to set limitations. Have a really good idea of your character and the story of your match or the story of where your character is going, and just always keep that at the forefront. Then when you're putting a match together, perhaps you're working with an opponent who has different ideas of what they want to bring to the table. If it doesn't fit that story, if it doesn't suit that direction, you've got to eliminate it. If you don't have the patience to stick out an idea because you just have too much inspiration, you often end up with something called analysis paralysis. And what that is having too many ideas and too many modes of inspiration that you just end up with nothing. You give up. You can't make a decision, so you just don't make any decision at all. And if you are a super creative type and you want to do different things in your career, that's completely fine as well. There will be times when you can stray from the path, steer the ship in a different direction. But in the interim, in the short term, set that vision, ensure that you've got those boundaries and limitations up. You know exactly what you want to be and what you want to do. And that'll be the most efficient and effective way to get your message across to the audience. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of World-Beater Wrestling. Of course, if you have any questions, comments, or requests, please drop them in the box below. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. It all helps the algorithm and helps spread these messages a little bit further. And of course, I'll see you next week for another episode.
If you want to see more videos like this, click on the subscribe button, spread the word, and if you have any questions or requests for World-Beater Wrestling, don't be afraid to comment below.